Hello, good afternoon, this is Diecast, and I hope you're all doing well. Welcome here to the first episode of Vintage Diecast Monday. As we all know, I used to do an episode, or I did an episode for Quad. I don't know how many years I did it for, at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I did an episode called Vintage Matchbox Mondays, and I just wanted to change it slightly and start broaden my horizons, so to speak, and start looking at other vintage pieces as well as Matchbox. So I'm going to be doing this every Monday. Hence for the name change. I'm still going to be showing lots of vintage Matchbox cars, as vintage Matchbox is my favourite car to collect. But I'm going to be looking at things like Corgi Whiz Wheels, and Husky, and there's lots of brands out there as well, lots of brands, Majorette. Whatever I can find that's vintage, I'm going to pick it up and show it. And then also once a month, once every couple of weeks, and at the end of the month, I'm going to be doing a restoration and a giveaway. So each week it will be different. It could be a vintage Matchbox, it could be a vintage Matchbox car, it could be a vintage Husky car. You get the idea. And then I'm going to do a giveaway, like I said, once a month. I'll restore a piece and then I'll give it away. So that's what's going to be happening every Monday right here. So anyway, let's get straight into it, and we'll take a look at what I've picked up for this week's episode. So it's going to be a Matchbox. And it's going to be this very cool Matchbox Superfast number 54, the Ford Capri. So we will look at this in a second. So just before I show that, I'll show the other versions that I have in my collection. I've got a couple of other versions. So for some reason, this casting doesn't come up very often, or at least I haven't come across many. Every time I've come across this casting, it's always beaten pretty much to death, like this piece was. This piece I restored a couple of years ago now, and it didn't turn out too bad. This car was a mess. The axles were bent, the chrome was gone, this was all tarnished. It was in a state. It is on there somewhere back in the archives of my videos, and I've done a lot of videos. I've done nearly 1,000 videos in 4 years, so I don't know where it is, but it's there. And the only regret with this car is I wished I'd filled that in. I didn't think. But other than that, it hasn't turned out too bad. The colour is pretty much spot on. So this is the orange Cortina, sorry I keep saying Cortina, Ford Capri. This is the orange Mark 1 Ford Capri. Or at least I think it's based on the Mark 1. Looks to be. So that's the first piece. I think that's the first piece I found. But I've been after trying to get all the variations. Now in this casting, they do many variations. So there is this, I suppose it's a dark pinky purple colour. So there is this variation. There is a plain orange variation. There is a pink with a black bonnet variation, and there's an orange with a black bonnet variation. And then obviously there's the other variations, which I'll go on about in a minute. Now this is one my partner picked me up excuse me, somewhere when she was out and about. I'm not quite sure where she got this from, but she knows I like this casting, and she knew I didn't have many of them, so she found this. Now this is what I've said before, this is a great survivor piece, so I won't do nothing with this. But it is a little bit play worn in places, a little bit chipped here, a little bit chipped there, but the bonnet action's good. And for a car, now this came out in 1971, so for a car that's almost, what is it, 50 odd years old, whatever it is, I think it's very nicely done. You can see the engine is very nicely done. You can make out what the engine actually is. You can see that it actually goes down, which for back in the day, and that's the thing with Matchbox, they do plain cars very nicely. You can see the scuttle tray, the Ford script on the front. I mean, you put some other details on this, like lights and tampos and what have you, and this would be up there with any premium car, in my opinion. So that is that variation, and then that's all I have of the number 54. I have this, I've shown this a few times before, which is the Hot Rocker. I have a couple of these, but I've shown them so much before that I didn't bother getting them out, but I just thought I'd show it because it is basically the same casting, it's just modified slightly, so you could see how they've done it with this. It is the same interior, the same outer casting, and I believe, I'm just looking at the other ones, there's a slight difference in the front part, but it is the same casting, just modified. So this one's a Rollermatics rather than a Superfast, and this one's from 73. So the original Ford Capri started from 71 and went on to, I think it ran on to about 1976, and this went on from 73, and it actually went on into the 80s, because obviously, as I've said before, I've shown it before a few times now, quite a few times, the Maxi Taxi was the later version of this. I think, I can't remember if the red one, there's a red version of this, I can't remember which one's first, whether it's the red or the green. I've got a funny feeling it's the green one, or is it the red one? I can't remember now, but there is a red version of this. But something about this casting I really, really like. Here is an up-to-date version, and again, there's a few variations of this now from Matchbox, but this is the modern variation of it, and it seems to be based on the Mark 1, and it's cool. They've captured it really well. It is obviously a completely different casting type, but they have captured it very nicely. If anything, it's a little bit more rounded than the original Mark 1. And I believe it's based on the Mark 1. I can't tell. Now, do you know what? Actual fact, I don't think it is the Mark 1, because the Mark 1 didn't have double round lights, so it could be it is a slightly later model. It is a slightly later model. Let's see if it says what the model is actually. So this just says 1970 Ford Capri. But I just wanted to show the modern equivalent, and now for the main contender. So this in here, I've been after this casting, this particular variation, for quite a few years now, and like I said, I've not found one in the wild yet. In play walk condition, I found that in play walk condition, and I restored it. And for some reason, these things are fetching really good money. As you can see, someone's very nicely put this in like a plastic protecto, so there you go, so you can read some of the details on the box. So 1970 Matchbox, all that good stuff. Lesney, made in England, and the artwork's pretty cool. But this box is very, very nice, and it's got on there, so it says racing suspension, which they do have suspension, high speed mag wheels, and apparently this has been tested. It's a tested product. So anyway, let's take a look at the car. So I ended up buying this online. I seen 3 come up. A very, very nice version of this, which I was very tempted to get. A very, very nice mint condition with box, pink with the black bonnet, and I was very tempted to get that because it was just such an eye-catching colour. And then I seen this, and the box is fantastic. The box is pretty much, it's near mint. It's if you want to be really fussy, it's got a few little bits on it, but I'm not too bothered. And then let's look at the car. So it is again wrapped up nicely. This is how it came. So when I got it, came in a box, and inside the box there was a proper piece of like foam had been cut out, and the box had been slid into it. Now, some people don't call this orange. Some people call this orangey pink. Some people call this light pink. To me, it is an orange. And again, this car is near mint. It's not perfect. Excuse me. But that doesn't matter. It's got that. So that is a factory error. They've actually spun the rivet. When they've spun the rivet in, they haven't pushed the car in enough, so it caught on the side and it bent itself. But that doesn't matter. But you can see There you go, Matchbox series number 54, Ford Capri, made in England, 1970, Lesney products, super fast. You can see there's a little bit of something on the wheels there, but this car has been loved. There's the front. The bonnet won't open too far on this. I don't want to scratch the paint. You can see the paint's chipped a little bit in the past, but there you go, there is the bonnet. As far as I'm going to push it up, there's the same engine. I believe it's based on the 1600 Capri, but it is in nice condition. A few little marks on it, and the paint has, you can see it's a little bit blistered, but to be perfectly honest, I think a lot of this is just from the factory. But this is, like I said, this is I call it my grail piece. I don't like to buy off eBay when it comes to this type of stuff, really, if I'm completely honest. I'd much rather find it in hand. You get to know the stories of the car properly when you find it in hand. But I haven't been able to find this car, and like I said, it came up. I paid £45 for it with free shipping. It came relatively quick, and it was the description was pretty much spot on. It does roll very, very nicely. You can see about the suspension, so it is nice. There is a couple of variations I would like to get of this eventually in the future. There's a rare, now I'm not sure because I've got to do my research. I'm not sure if it's a colour, what they call it, a colour test or a colour shot, whatever it is. But it's basically where it's a colour test, but there's one, I think it's a yellow with a black bonnet, is the one that I really want, because it's a nice looking yellow. It's almost that colour yellow. Excuse me, maybe a little bit brighter, quite a bright yellow. But I had found one came up and they wanted £600 for it, as it is obviously rare. And there's also a Brazilian version of this, which is yellow again, but a darker yellow, and it has an orange bonnet, which would be pretty cool. And I probably will eventually. I'll probably get all the variations of this casting, just because I want to. And like I said, and the reason this one is special to me is because this is the exact one, or the exact type that I had as a kid. This one with the orangey colour and the black bonnet, and I remember where I got it, I remember when I got it, and I remember the person who got it for me. And unfortunately they are no longer here. It was my mother. Sadly she passed away a long time ago now, back when I was 17. But I always remember my mother buying me these cars if I was behaved or what have you, and I loved this car. But anyway, that is this week's episode. Like I said, I'm going to be doing lots more each week, every week, on either vintage Matchbox, Husky, Corgi, Britons, and maybe some Dinky. And like I said, I'll be doing every couple of weeks or so, every 3 weeks or so, I'll be doing a restoration, because I've got lots of stuff here that needs restoring. I've got bags of old cars that need restoring, and I'm going to restore a piece, and then once a month I will give that piece away on a vintage diecast episode. I will be giving away a restored piece every month to whoever wins it. That is what I want to do with this Monday's episodes on my channel. This is exactly what I want to do, move closer and nearer to the vintage, as it's my main thing. But anyway, I'm rambling on. Hope you enjoy this episode. Like I said, stay tuned for more. And I think that's all I've got to say. I can't remember. I know it's not what I say, but I've forgotten. But anyway, with that, please like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned for more vintage Diecast Mondays episodes. And with that, I'll see you all very soon. Take care.